Another almost perfect, didn't work, but totally worth it. Better to have loved and lost my mind than lose the nerve to even try. Another conversation, awkward, but the ice is breaking. I've been in some shit relationships, but I remain an optimist. It's not a game I'm playing, it's not a thrill I'm chasing, more like a space I'm saving, and I don't even know your name. But if it gets me to you, then it ain't wasted time. With every soul close, I'm closer to the rest of my life. Another bad first date, another nothing left to say. What I mean is, the way I see it, I'm one heartbreak closer to you. Hey baby, can I call you baby? Is that okay? I don't even know you, but I can't wait to know you someday. Imagine someday, when we look back, I'll thank my past for giving me my future better half. I'm sorry for the time it's taken, but I'm gonna make it worth the wait. And all the strong love that I learned from was just practice for the right one. If it gets me to you, then it ain't wasted time. With every soul close, I'm closer to the rest of my life. Another just got played, a shot of bourbon for the pain. What I mean is, the way I see it, I'm one heartbreak closer to you. It's kinda strange to miss someone I haven't met yet, someone I haven't kissed yet. But I'll go through it all if it gets me to you, then it ain't wasted time. With every soul close, I'm closer to the rest of my life. Another sad goodbye, another sleepless night. What I mean is, the way I see it, I'm one heartbreak closer to you. One heartbreak closer to you.
Hi, welcome back to Overtones, hosted by Renee Collins and Whitney Akey on WLXU 93.9 FM. You've just heard the song Heartbreak, performed by 5-time Grammy-nominated Hunter Hayes, who will be performing in Lexington on May 31st at Manchester Music Hall, and Lexington is really excited about his arrival. We are so excited to have Hunter via phone in the studio today. And Hunter Hayes, welcome to Overtones on Lexington Community Radio.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. How's life treating you guys?
Life is treating us great, and we're so glad to talk to you. You are a multi-platinum selling recording artist that just released Heartbreak, and I believe this is your first official single in 3 years, which was the number 3 most added song at country radio up on Impact. And I've seen your wonderful video. Will you tell us about this song, and why do you think it has had the appeal that it has had for many country music radio fans?
Well, I mean, for me, the song was, this album is not the same kind of album that I've made before, as I didn't feel like it was supposed to be. I did a lot of soul searching to get the songs on this album and worked for years on it, and honestly even went so far as to scrap everything that I'd worked on at the beginning of 2018 and start over. And at that point, I realized what was important and what I was supposed to be, what I was meant to be writing about, not what I, thought I was supposed to be writing about. Where they were two very different things.
Yes.
And, really decided to put my heart and soul into to more topics and talk about more things. And at that point, I realized that there probably wasn't going to be a love song on the album, just because that's not the theme. It's very much about personal self growth and the journey to find oneself, or whatever you want to call it. And well, it's about a lot of things, honestly.
I'm so appreciative of that theme. We discuss that a lot here on Lexington Community Radio, especially with Overtones, and the self-growth process that happens when you're actually engaging in the writing of a song.
Yeah, well, so the one thing that I was really looking forward to was, with that was a big deal for me. My future better half, that future partner, at that time was something I really wanted to write about, even though I had no idea, who she was, anything about her. The thought of going through everything to get to someone was definitely sort of front of my mind, and I just started journaling about it and started talking about it, and when I walked into Gordy Toggs and Simon, they had this really awesome acoustic riff already kind of tracked and working on this really cool track, and it had a lot of energy, and it just felt very upbeat and optimistic, and I shared my strong desire to write a song to this mystery person, and luckily they were totally into it, and I started sharing kind of these journal entries and my thoughts, and the song came together rather quickly, and I think that's a sign that the song was meant to be written. We didn't have to force it, we didn't work, we didn't have to go searching, great distances to find it. I think we all knew that feeling, whether we had been there before or like me, were there, are there now, and it just felt like the song was an optimistic way of looking at things you've been through and knowing that they're all for a good reason,
Yes, definitely. And Hunter, you are a Louisiana native, and you've also accumulated over 45 award nominations and wins, and you've achieved over 1 billion on-demand career streams globally and 3 #1 singles, including your 5-time multi-platinum crossover single, Wanted. Let me ask you, how long have you been recording and also touring?
That's a great question. I have no idea. I mean, officially touring on a major label, I guess, since I was 16. No, that'd be 18. 18 since I was 18, so almost 10 years now. Under the on the Atlantic recording artist chapter, I guess that'd be close to 10 years. Yeah.
Wow. Can you tell us a little bit about your musical background growing up, and was music a part of your family?
It wasn't. No one really in my family is musical, so it's funny to me to try to explain, because I found it super young. I was my grandmother gave me a toy accordion when I was 2, because that's normal, and she just kind of gave me the keys to what I feel like is a whole new world when she did that, because it started with accordion, but then it was a drum kit for Christmas, then it was a guitar, then it was a piano at some point, and it never stopped. And I was really, really immersed into this world where I felt like I could express and create and come to life, in a lot of ways. And it still is that world for me. And I feel like the way I try to explain it to everybody is like I didn't grow up thinking that it was going to be a career. I just didn't know the difference. I just knew that music was where I was supposed to be, regardless, and and just believed that's my purpose, and still do. And I try not to think about it too much as a career. I try to continue thinking about it as the art that I'm meant to make, and stay true to that. And I think the moments that I've managed to do that and stay that true to it, I've made the things that I'm most proud of,
Oh, absolutely. And I am the host of Red Barn Radio, which is also here in Lexington, Kentucky. And the reason I ask you that question is because we always find out that it usually starts out with a toy instrument that possibly a grandparent or a parent gave our artist. And I just honestly think that's just a great part of your musical story.
I'm going to say, I think if there's anything that I've worked the most on in the last couple of years, it's been returning to what I call kid self, because there's no better place than like creating and or being on stage, and that's when I feel like a kid again. And I think that's part of the story. It's part of the conversation. Are those passions, those things that we that bring us back to our youth, and that innocent sort of love for something like music,
Well, you were speaking our language here, definitely, on Overtones, and we ask all of our artists on this radio show a couple of questions, and I was wondering if you might like to contribute to our collection of answers. And I don't know how much you know about Lexington, but we have a very rich and vibrant musical scene here, filled with some amazing singer-songwriters and also the greatest fans in the world. What do you hope that the listening audience takes away from the experience of hearing Hunter Hayes' music or seeing you in concert?
Well, from the music, I'll start with the concert, because I feel like that's where my head's at now. We've been working on that for a year, and now we're finally on the road. I'm literally watching, sitting in the back of the bus as I'm talking to you, watching them load in for another show, and this is where the music comes to life. This is where everything we've worked on, everything I've worked on, everything that I've scratched everything that I've started over on, everything that I've poured my soul into. This is where it makes sense, because when people come to this show, I don't know what they're expecting, and I don't want really for them to expect anything. Ideally, I want them to come in with an open mind, but I do hope that if anybody walks in with baggage, I hope they leave weightless, and I do want the music to encourage people to be fully themselves, to feel like they can walk out with no baggage, with no expectations. They can walk out knowing that they are perfectly good as is, and they are extremely unique individuals, meant to be those unique individuals, and because I believe in that message, and I wish I heard that more often. But hopefully, it's a get away from the expectations of comparing yourself to everyone in social media land and all that stuff. This is a chance to look in the, hopefully, for all of us to look at ourselves and say, wait a minute, I'm meant to be exactly who I am, and yeah, it's just the feeling of weightlessness. I share that with my team as much as I can, because I feel like that's our purpose here on this tour.
That's kind of like the ball that you have your eye on, right? And the goal. And I will just say, there is, I think, a movement and a wave of the spirit of being genuine and being authentic and living our authentic lives, not only when we're at work or we're at home, but just being the genuine self that we are 24 hours a day. So I think that's a great goal. Lexington is going to get to enjoy your music live in concert at Manchester Music Hall on May 31st. How has the tour gone for you so far, and have you had any favorite moments or memories at this point in the tour?
This tour has by far been my favorite tour we've ever worked on. I'm proud of this show. I think this is without saying best, because I don't believe that that's the kind of word that I want to use, but it's definitely my favorite. I think I finally get to tell a story. I get to cover a lot of ground. There's several albums worth of work that I get to cover now, but most importantly, I'm approaching this tour not as, not thinking necessarily like, not starting with, singles from the past. We're starting very much as like a new artist, because I feel that way. I feel like I'm new. I feel like this is kind of a reset for me, and it's a beautiful time for me to play a bunch of stuff that people haven't even heard, stuff that's not even out, and I feel like that's the best way for the audience to get to know me very quickly, is to hear this new music, and quite simply, this is the most fun I've ever had on stage, by far. I mean, and that's hard for even me to say, because I think back at all the, awesome arena tours and all these things that we've done in the past, but this is by far the most, just the most fun I've ever had, and it's flying by all too quickly, but we're all having a blast, and I think everybody feels the fire.
Well, we are so excited about that. I am a Kentuckian, but have you been to Lexington before?
I have, yeah, and that's not a crazy question at all, but we have. We've had some awesome experiences there, in and around the area. We've played all over Kentucky, and we've had some great shows, and but it's been far too long. So I'm excited to be back.
What do you have for us next as we start to sadly close this segment of Overtones today?
Something that I'm both proud and somewhat embarrassed of.
Okay, I love it.
I started when I told you I scratched everything at the beginning of 2018. One of the things I started doing again, which I hadn't done in a while because of insecurities, was writing by myself. My publisher encouraged me to do it. I got signed to my publishing deal because of a song that I wrote by myself, and I hadn't written by myself in probably 5-6 years. I've been co-writing, and which I love that process, but I also wanted to get back to me again. And and this was one day that I was supposed to write with a friend of mine that couldn't make it because of snow, and I knew that I had a responsibility to myself to dive back into creating solo and saying what I needed to say. And so the first thing that came to my mind was a song that I had wanted to write called One Shot at a Time. And the title came from me sitting at the bar at my favorite cigar lounge that I go to, and it was a song written in about 15 to 20 minutes about the most embarrassing night of my life that I do not remember, all for the sake of saying, may we all be brave enough to share our experiences with the world and laugh about it,
Yes.
Hashtag no filter. Said a lot of stuff that I don't remember. Lord knows I'm guilty of a lot of sins that I don't wanna live with. Mom would probably cut me off the family tree if she heard half the stories people telling me. Oh, there's proof. Insta's out there telling all my truth. I can't lie, so I own it. Been a rough week, so what? I deserve it. Sorry to the Uber guy that took me home. It's kinda sad, but I'm kinda glad I'm waking up alone. I started with one shot to have a good time. Everybody knows how easy one can turn into five. But don't judge me, cause it ain't nobody's life but mine. And I only get one shot, so I take it one shot at a time. Yeah, take it one shot at a time. Hey, one shot at a time. Mess up, live and learn, repent and repeat, build a bridge then burn it. No shame, just secrets, got a lot of memories, not a lot of regrets. Every time I said I'd never do it again, was right before I headed out for one more spin. I started with one shot to have a good time. Everybody knows how easy one can turn into five. But don't judge me, cause it ain't nobody's life but mine. And I only get one shot, so I take it one shot at a time. Yeah, take it one shot at a time. Hey, one shot at a time. I think my fear of missing out makes me do the one thing I could do without. It starts with one shot to have a good time. Everybody knows how easy one can turn into five. But don't judge me, cause it ain't nobody's life but mine. And I only get one shot, so I take it one shot at a time. Yeah, take it one shot at a time. One shot at a time. One shot at a time. One shot at a time.
We just saw you as a presenter at the 2019 Academy of Country Music Awards, and we are so fortunate to have you visit Lexington on May 31st, giving our music fans a way to listen locally to such a global presence as Hunter Hayes. And Hunter, thank you again for being on the show and for doing what we call working in concert to bring Kentucky fans the very best this great state of Kentucky has to offer music fans across the state. And until you arrive in Lexington, have a great tour and safe travels.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.